Stoicism, the architects and the gladiators. We live in a time of chaos. That is why we are seeing a massive resurgence in Stoicism. But if you walk into a bookstore today, you are mostly seeing the how-to guides. You are seeing the surface. To truly understand this philosophy, to understand how to stand like a rock when the waves crash against you, you have to know the men who built it. And they fall into two very different groups: the architects, who drew the blueprints, and the titans, who actually built the house. It starts in Athens, around 300 BC, with the Greeks. These were the theoreticians. It begins with Zeno of Citium. Zeno was not a professor. He was a merchant. He was a man who had it all and lost it all in a single shipwreck. He washed ashore in Athens with nothing but the shirt on his back. Most men would have broken. Zeno went to a bookstore, read about Socrates, and decided that his shipwreck was a blessing. He founded the school on a painted porch, the Stoa. He gave us the core idea that the only thing that matters is your character. But Zeno was just the spark. The fire was Chrysippus. You have likely never heard of him, but without him, there is no Stoicism. He was the logic engine. He took Zeno's loose ideas and hammered them into a bulletproof intellectual system. He wrote over 700 books. He turned a philosophy of life into a fortress of logic. Fast forward a few hundred years. The philosophy moves from the classrooms of Greece to the blood-soaked arenas of Rome. This is where Stoicism stops being theory and starts being a weapon for survival. We look to three men here: the slave, the senator, and the emperor. First, Epictetus, a slave, a man who walked with a limp because his leg was reportedly broken by a cruel master. Epictetus didn't own his own body, yet he taught the world about freedom. He taught us the dichotomy of control. He looked at the world and said, "I cannot control my master, I cannot control my leg, but I can control my will." He proved that you can be in chains and still be free. Second, Seneca, the contrast. He wasn't a slave. He was the richest man in Rome. He was the right-hand man to Nero, one of history's worst tyrants. Seneca lived in the viper's nest of politics. He shows us how to be stoic not when you are suffering, but when you are tempted. He taught us that wealth is not good or bad. It is merely a tool, and usually a trap. And finally, Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, the most powerful man on earth. He didn't have to answer to anyone. He could have had anything, killed anyone, done anything. And yet, he wrote Meditations, not for publication, but as a diary to himself. He wrote it in a tent on the war front, trying to convince himself to get out of bed, to be kind to idiots, and to do his job. He proves that absolute power does not have to corrupt absolutely. So why do we study these men? We study the Greeks, Zeno and Chrysippus, to understand the rules of the game. We study the Romans, Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus, to see how the game is played. They remind us that whether you are a slave, a politician, or an emperor, the job remains the same: to keep your head when everyone else is losing theirs. To be good in a world that doesn't care about you.